AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Time for Michigan's newest sports talk show, Mitten Madness.
And here he goes. Defense win championship.
Michigan sports talk from here in Battle Creek. The latest stories, the biggest games, all across the Mitten State.
That's not something to play with.
Streaming live and on demand on the 95.3 WBCK app. Your host, Da'Jzon Hughes.
Welcome back into another episode of Mitten Madness here on 95.3 WBCK. I'm your host, Da'Jzon Hughes, and we're about to dive into an hour's worth of Michigan sports. Last week, we had that amazing 2-hour episode, so we got to do a super deep dive into tons of things happening around the sports. We're back to our regular 1-hour program, so we're going to go back to that condensed showing and get you the most important things when you need them. So, of course, we're going to touch on the Lions, what happened with them last week, what they have coming up next week, this weekend, and next week, since we'll talk to you about both of those games before we speak again. And then also Michigan and Michigan State, what they have coming up in their weekend. And, of course, the Pistons and the Red Wings before we get into our picks to wrap things up. Happy early Thanksgiving. Y'all might not love Thanksgiving as much as I do, but I absolutely do. So I'm looking forward to the holiday. This is the first time I get to say that to you, and I'll say it a couple other times throughout the show because, of course, this is the only time you'll get to hear from me before the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm ready to smash into some great food and, of course, watch some great football. Speaking of football, let's talk about those beloved Detroit Lions. They're coming off a tough loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. This game was an ugly game for both sides. Starting with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts had 135 passing yards, 14 of 28. Saquon Barkley goes 83 rushing yards for 26 carries. A.J. Brown led the receivers with 49 yards on 7 receptions. Jalen Phillips had 1 sack, and Zach Braun had 7 tackles, 2 of them being solo. On the Lions side, 255 passing yards on 14 of 37 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for Jared Goff. Jahmyr Gibbs had 12 carries for 39 rushing yards. He also led the team in receiving on 5 receptions for 107 yards. And then Roy Lopez had half a sack, and Jack Campbell led the team, 15 tackles, 7 of them solo. The Lions outgained the Eagles 317 to 272, and the Lions did have the 1 turnover in the game. They only had 13 first downs to 16 for the Eagles, 5 penalties for the Lions for 48 yards, 9 for 78 yards for the Eagles, 3 for 13 on third down, 4 for 15 for the Eagles. The Lions went 0 for 5 on fourth down. The Eagles go 0 for 1. The Eagles were 1 for 3 in the red zone. The Lions 0 for 1. Looking at how the scoring plays went down at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Jake Elliott got things popped off with a field goal early in the first quarter. Then he got another field goal early in the second quarter. Jamison Williams caught his 40-yard touchdown pass from Jared Goff with 5:05 left in the second quarter, tied the game up at 6 as Jake Bates missed the PAT. And then Jalen Hurts had a 1-yard tush-push touchdown to move the score to 13-6. Jake Elliott cashes in a field goal with 10:15 left in the fourth quarter. No scores in the third quarter for either team to push the Eagles up to 16-6. And then Bates cashes in a field goal, 1:58 left to put the Lions down 7. And then they try to get the onside kick and were unsuccessful. So that led to them losing this game 16-9. But overall, neither offense was able to get anything going. Jalen Hurts had the one touchdown for the Eagles on the ground. Jared Goff to Jamison Williams for a huge play for a touchdown. That was the only touchdown for the Lions. PAT causes them to lose by 7 instead of 6. And then the scoreless third quarter. I mean, it bodes well for the Eagles, but going scoreless in a game where you're losing never bodes well if you're losing. That's the whole point. So the Lions on that losing end, not being able to put points up in that third quarter really, really hurt them. And actually, the Lions only had a 51.2% chance to win early in the first quarter, and then they were right back at 50.6% during the second quarter. That was right after that touchdown. But the rest of the game was a dominant performance pretty much by the Eagles. There was no concern for the Eagles to really lose this game at pretty much any point. The offense for the Lions could not get rolling outside of Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs had a phenomenal day. On the day, he had 146 yards combined between on the ground and in the air. Couldn't score a touchdown, but, I mean, realistically, even if you have that many yards, I don't think you need to score a touchdown. I think you need help from everybody else around you, and he couldn't quite get that from his teammates this week, even though they were able to outgain the Eagles, and they did have less penalties for less yards. But the one turnover and the 0 for 4 on fourth down, not scoring on your one opportunity in the red zone, those things hurt you. The Lions are now 6-4, which has them at third place in the NFC North. Third place in the NFC North, which is a game behind Chicago at 7-3, and then also they're a half game behind Green Bay, who is 6-3-1. Looking at the NFL standings overall, looking at the conference first in the NFC. The Eagles and Rams are tied at the top at 8-2. Then you got the Bears at 7-3. Tampa Bay at 6-4. Those are your divisional leaders, and that's 1 through 4. Then you have Seattle at 7-3. Green Bay at 6-3-1, and 7-4. San Francisco 49ers cleaning up your top 7. Right now, the Lions are 8th and looking outside of the playoffs at the moment at 6-4, just a half game above the Carolina Panthers, who are 6-5. Looking at the league overall, Green Bay sneaks in the top half or the top 8 at 6-3-1. The Bears in that top 6 at 7-3. And then the Broncos and the Patriots lead the league at 9-2. Your Lions way down at 6-4 with the group of the Steelers, the Bucks, the Jags, which has them at about looks to be 15th place or so in the league. So right in that middle pack is where the Lions stand overall. But the divisional standings do not look great for them either. Currently in division, the Lions are 1-2, which has them tied for Chicago for second, or technically third in the division, third and fourth. Because at the top are the Minnesota Vikings, who are 2-1. Green Bay is 1-0 because they've only played one team, the Lions, way back in week 1. But they do have 3 straight divisional games coming up between the Bears, the Lions, and the Vikings, obviously. And then they still have to play the Bears and the Vikings later on again this year. So the conference standings in the division are going to be jumbled up and crazy over the next couple of weeks, but the Lions do have a pivotal game coming up on Sunday. They're going to play the New York Giants, who are 2-9 this year and 0-6 on the road. This is a great chance for the Lions to get their footing back under themselves. A 1 p.m. game on Fox, 28.7% for the Giants, 71.1% for the Lions to win this game. Jackson Dart has just been put out for this game, so he will not be starting at quarterback. Cam Scatabo is also still on the IR and will not be returning this year. Still some issues on the line for the Lions as Tate Ratledge, Graham Glasgow, Taylor Decker, and Penei Sewell are all questionable for this game. Brian Branch is dealing with a toe injury for this game, but the Giants are 0-5 since they've dealt with injuries to both Cam Scatabo and Jackson Dart. I don't think that changes much because both of those guys are still out. The Lions obviously are 2-3 in their last 5 games. They have losses to the Chiefs, the Vikings, and the Eagles, but then wins over Tampa Bay and the 49ers in convincing fashion in both of those games. Lions returning back to Ford Field where they're 3-1 on the year, 6-4 so far overall. They're 10-point favorites going into this game, negative 750 on the money line, plus 450 for the Giants. 49.5 sits on the over-under. I got the Lions taking this game with conviction. I don't see any real problems with this game for them because it'll be a nice game for them to get their footing back offensively, maybe even dominate defensively, have a very great day, and then look to build that momentum into their next game, which is the interesting one. It's Thanksgiving Thursday, which this game will be played here on WBCK. 1 p.m. on the kickoff. So the pregame show will start at 12:30. This is Fox as well for your viewing pleasure. Green Bay 6-3-1, 3-1-1 on the road. The Lions obviously 6-4, 3-1 at home. Right now they're giving Green Bay a 45.4% chance to steal away victory on Thanksgiving Day at Ford Field, while the Lions are projected a 54.2% chance to make the holiday victory a happening at their home stadium. This is the game that is going to kickstart a lot for these teams. Obviously, the Packers will be coming off a divisional game against their most hated rival in the Chicago Bears, so they'll already most likely be feeling good because how often do the Packers lose to the Bears? A little bit of my homeness coming out there, but genuinely, we'll see how good the Bears are and what the Packers are going to be able to do and if they're going to be able to hold that spot that they have with that half-game lead with the tie, or if things are going to get really messy. But then they have to roll 3 days later into a game with the Lions, which will be which team is healthier. That is what this game is going to come down to. I cannot speak a ton about who I think will win this game, other than I think Green Bay will because I'm a Green Bay fan. But we will once again talk on the flip side of this game next Saturday. But we do have more Mitten Madness for you coming up after the break. We're going to be talking Michigan and Michigan State football and what they have coming up for the weekend on 95.3 WBCK. Welcome back into Mitten Madness here on 95.3 WBCK. I'm Da'Jzon Hughes, back with a opportunity to talk about Michigan and Michigan State on the gridiron. They have had 2 totally different seasons. One fan base probably feels much better about their season than the other. We'll, I guess, start on the good news note. Coming off of another win are the Michigan Wolverines. They were able to take down the Northwestern Wildcats at Wrigley Field on Saturday, and it was an interesting game for Wolverine fans. Looking at how things were broken down, Preston Stone went for 184 yards on 13 of 27. Caleb Komolafe had 31 rushing yards on 12 carries and a TD. Hunter Welsing had 81 receiving yards on 4 receptions. Aiden Hubbard had a sack, and Robert Fitzgerald had 15 tackles, 10 of them being solo. For Michigan, Bryce Underwood, 21 of 32 for 280 passing yards and 2 interceptions. Jordan Marshall doing his thing on the ground once again, 19 carries for 142 yards and 2 TDs. Andrew Marsh has really started to shine at the receiver position for the Wolverines. 12 receptions for 189 receiving yards, no sacks for Michigan. And Mason Curtis had 5 tackles, 2 of them being solo. 496 total yards for the Wolverines, out gaining Northwestern, who only had 245. 5 turnovers for Michigan, 0 for Northwestern. 25 first downs, 11 for Northwestern. 4 penalties for Michigan for 24 yards, 7 for Northwestern for 55 yards. Michigan went 9 for 14 on 3rd down. Northwestern 2 for 12. Michigan 0 for 1 on 4th down, while Northwestern converted on their 1 4th down attempt. Looking at the scoring plays of this game, Jordan Marshall opened things up with a 1-yard touchdown early in the second quarter. The first quarter was scoreless for both of these teams, 7-0. Jack Olson came back, had a 34-yard field goal in the middle of the second quarter, 7-3. Then he cashed another field goal in toward the end of the second quarter, 7-6. Bryce Underwood started the third quarter with a 9-yard touchdown run, putting Michigan up 14-6. Jack Olson, another field goal from 35 in the middle of the third, 14-9. Jordan Marshall, another 1-yard touchdown just at the end of the third quarter, 21-9 Michigan. Preston Stone had a 1-yard touchdown run to open up the fourth quarter, 21-16 Michigan. Caleb Komolafe, 6-yard run, 2-point conversion did fail. So Northwestern up 22-21 at the beginning of the fourth quarter after yet another Michigan turnover. And then Dominic Zavada cashed things out as the clock hit 0 with the 31-yard field goal. So Michigan could win 24-22. I'm telling you, a heart-racing game that Michigan fans could have gone without. As a Michigan fan myself, this game had me on the edge of my seat the entire time, which is not something you ever want to say against Northwestern, who, given due credit, are 5-5 this year, 3-4 in the Big Ten, and have played much better this year than they have in previous years. But Michigan should still be a superior program to a team like Northwestern, which then goes to the next point I have. In Michigan is currently 6-1 in the conference, 8-2 overall on the year, and they need some help in order to get into the conference championship game. They have to, one, beat Maryland this week, which we'll talk about in just a second, but they also have USC and Oregon who are playing each other, which means one of them is going to lose a game, so that puts them at 6-2. Great. As long as Michigan wins their game, they're above them at 7-1. They're tied with whoever wins that game at 7-1. But then you need the loser of that game to then lose their next game, and you have to win your next game. Who does everybody close the season out with? Well, we know who Michigan closes the season out with. It's the game. Ohio State. It's at the Big House, noon, 11:29 next Saturday on Fox. Big noon game of the year. I mean, what is expected, right? So Michigan wins that game. They're going to be at 8-1 in the conference, 10-2 on the year, and they're will be above Ohio State, who will also be 8-1 in the conference and would be 11-1 on the year, I would suppose, because Ohio State isn't playing anyone that's going to beat them. Before then, Indiana would, I would assume, would be comfortably in the Big Ten championship game with an undefeated conference record of 9-0, 12-0 on the year at that point. And then you would need Oregon to either lose to USC and be out of the way, or lose to Washington the next week, or you want USC to lose to Oregon and be out of the way, or they have to beat Oregon and lose to UCLA next week. So looking at the conference standings, Washington's 4-3, UCLA's 3-4. You kind of got even options on both sides. Most importantly, you have to take care of the business in front of you first. Speaking of the business that's in front of you, Maryland is the next team on the docket for the Wolverines. Maryland is 4-6, 1-6 in the Big Ten. This game will be here on BCK later today. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff. You can have viewing pleasure on BTN. 81.9% chance for Michigan, 18.1% chance for Maryland, even though Michigan will be on the road, as this game will be at SCCU Stadium in College Park, Maryland. They will have to contain true freshman quarterback Malik Washington, who on the year is 216 for 373, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for 2,294 yards. On the ground, their leading rusher, DeJuan Williams, 111 carries for 409 yards, 2 TDs. Shalik Knotts has 32 receptions for 496 yards and 5 touchdowns. Sidney Stewart has 6 sacks on the year, and Daniel Wingate has 89 tackles. Maryland 0 for 5 in their last 5 with losses to Illinois 24-6, Rutgers 35-20, Indiana 55-10, UCLA 20-17, and Nebraska 34-31. So it doesn't seem like Michigan could be in trouble here, but this is what you call a classic trap game. Michigan cannot overlook the Terrapins. They have to go in and handle business in College Park first and beat Maryland before they can worry about Ohio State. They could ruin their entire season, their chance at a Big Ten championship, their chance at the college football playoffs by overlooking Maryland. You're on the road in the Big Ten. You still got to go out and play. We've seen that the last couple of weeks. Northwestern, Purdue, Both of those games were way too close for comfort. Wins are wins, but you still got to go out and play. That's why you play the game in the first place. Handle business against Maryland like I think they will, and then we have a big-time matchup coming up against Ohio State after the Thanksgiving holiday. Now to turn our attention to a team that isn't doing as well in conference or on the season overall. The Michigan State Spartans. The Spartans have fallen to 3-7 on the year. They're 0-7 in the Big Ten. Their most recent loss to Penn State, who was struggling and hadn't won a conference game before they beat the Spartans. How did it go down? Alessio Milivojevic went 17-27 for 128 yards. Elijah Tolliver had 79 rushing yards on 6 carries and a TD. He also had 8 receptions for 73 yards to lead all receivers. Grady Kelly had half a sack, and Wayne Matthews III had 8 tackles, 3 of them being solo. Penn State, you had Ethan Grunkemeyer. He had 8 for 13, 2 TDs, 127 passing yards. Katron Allen, 25 carries for 181 yards and 2 TDs to lead the rushers. Devontae Ross, 2 receptions for 79 yards and 2 TDs. What a way to have a game to lead the receivers. Danny Dennis Sutton had 2 sacks, and Amari Campbell had 9 tackles, 6 of them being solo. Penn State outgained the Spartans 367-229. The Spartans had 1 turnover. They had 13 first downs, while Penn State had 19. 4 penalties for Penn State for 45 yards. 2 for 20 for Michigan State. 1 for 10 on third down, but Penn State was only 2 for 10. Penn State went 2 for 4 on fourth down. Michigan State 0 for 2. This game was at Spartan Stadium up in East Lansing. Elijah Tolliver got the game started with a 57-yard touchdown run, and it might have looked like Michigan State had found their spark, but quickly after, Katron Allen bounced back with an 8-yard touchdown run to tie things up. Martin Connington comes out for a 24-yard field goal at the beginning of the second quarter, puts Michigan State back up 3. Devontae Ross, 75-yard touchdown reception from Ethan Grunkemeyer, puts Penn State up 14-10, and they did not look back. Devontae Ross cut another 4-yard touchdown pass at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Third quarter was scoreless for both these teams. Penn State up 21-10, and then Katron Allen a 26-yard touchdown run to cap things off, 28-10 to give Michigan State their 7th straight loss and Penn State their first conference victory. Things do not get easier for the Spartans. The Spartans are going to have to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes next at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa, on the road, 3:30 p.m. on FS1 later today. 16.5-point favorites are the Hawkeyes. Negative 1,200 on the money line, plus 700 for the Spartans. 42.5 sits on the over-under. Mark Gronkowski, 109 for 202, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 1,216 yards. Kamari Moulton, 120 carries, 2 TDs, 612 rushing yards on the year. Jacob Gill has 237 receiving yards and 18 receptions. Max Lewin has 6 sacks, and Carson Shar has 63 tackles. The Hawkeyes are the 18th ranked team in the country. Well, they were at one point. I don't believe they're ranked anymore. They did just lose to USC 26-21. They're coming off a 2-point loss to Oregon 18-16. They did beat Minnesota 41-3, beat Penn State 25-24, and beat Wisconsin 37-0 in their last 5. Michigan State obviously 0 for 5 losses to Penn State, Minnesota, Michigan, Indiana, and UCLA in that stretch. They're going to look to bounce back, but the ESPN matchup predictor only giving them a 10.5% chance to beat the Hawkeyes, 89.5% chance for Iowa to come out with the win. Their last chance to get a victory will be against Maryland, who is also struggling on the year. That game is going to be next Saturday, 7 p.m., FS1. Last chance for them to get a victory, not only for the conference play, but for the year, because they will not be going to a bowl game. So these next 2 weeks are huge for Spartan fans as they get ready to go into the offseason, which we'll begin to talk about that next week. What does it look like? Do they move on from Jonathan Smith? What does the transfer portal look like? Recruiting and more. But we're about to go into the break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting into Little Caesars Arena, talk Red Wings and Pistons. We got more Mitten Madness on 95.3 WBC.
Detroit sports fans, Wolverines and Spartans alike. This is your sports show, Mitten Madness, with Jacob Harrison and Da'Jzon Hughes on 95.3 WBCK.
Welcome back into Mitten Madness here on 95.3 WBCK. It's time for us to check back in to our professional teams playing out at Little Caesars Arena. We will start laying down the ice, getting a little chilly, and talking on our Detroit Red Wings. We're going to pull up their schedule here in just a moment. Looking at, obviously, our leaders for the year. Goals, it's still Dylan Larkin. He's got 12 of them. 3 of them are on the power play on 70 shots on the year. Lucas Raymond's up to 16 assists. He's got 6 power play assists. His plus minus now 6 at 6 on the positive side. Dylan Larkin leads the team in points, 12 goals, 12 assists for an even 24. 2.86 goals per game for the team, giving up 3.19, tied for 22nd in the NHL. 21.4% on the power play, tied for 14, or they are 14th, and their penalty kill sitting at 81.7%. They're 13th in the league. Goaltending stats: Cam Talbot 2.64 goals against average, 26 goals he's given up on the year. Has a save percentage of .897 to lead the team as well. 227 saves on 253 shots, and he's got 8 wins on the year. Now, the last time we talked, they were coming off of a win against Anaheim 6-3, but then they lost to Buffalo 5-4 in overtime on Saturday, November 15th. Then bounced back with 2 victories Sunday, November 16th against the New York Rangers, 2-1, and then Tuesday, November 18th against Seattle, 4-2, before dropping a game Thursday to the Islanders, 5-0. They play again later today, 1 p.m. against the Columbus Blue Jackets before they take on the New Jersey Devils on Monday, November 24th. And then Wednesday, November 26th, they'll see Nashville, the Predators, and then Tampa Bay Friday, November 28th at noon, before they have a back-to-back with Boston on the flip half of Thanksgiving, which we'll be able to talk to you before those games come up. But, I mean, you see that slowly things are getting a little bit better for the Red Wings. They finally got an OT loss, which I told you I like OT losses more than regulation losses, because you still get a point in the standings in the NHL when you have an overtime loss. But they were able to string together a couple of wins, which I think is huge at this time of the year. They just coming off of a couple of losing streaks, so being able to win a couple in a row, I think, is going to be huge for them to get their footing back and for them to feel like they're making things happen. When you think and look at the standings for the Atlantic Division, you will not believe who sits at the top. The Detroit Red Wings are 12-8-1 for 25 points. They sit a point above the Lightning from Tampa Bay, the Ottawa Senators, and the Boston Bruins, who all have 24. Tampa Bay is 11-7-2. Ottawa's 10-6-4. And Boston is 12-10-0. See, that's a great example of those overtime losses helping you get those points. Ottawa has 10 wins, 6 losses, 4 overtime losses to give them 24 points, right in par with 11-7-2 Tampa Bay and 12-10-0 Boston. And then right behind them with 23 points each are the Florida Panthers and the Montreal Canadiens. Panthers are 11-8-1, Canadiens 10-7-3. Toronto Maple Leafs 9-9-3 at 21 points. Buffalo Sabres 7-9-4 with 18 points in the Atlantic Division. Looking at the entire Eastern Conference, the Red Wings are 4th with their 25 points. Above them, the Hurricanes are first at 13-5-2 with 28 points. The Devils 13-6-1 with 27 points. And the Islanders 12-7-2 with 26 points. The Penguins are right behind the Red Wings 10-5-4 with 24 points. Looking at league overall, the Avalanche sit up top at 14-1-5 with 33 points on the year. Our Red Wings are in 9th place with their 25 points. So they're comfortably in the playoffs for the moment. They're finding a nice pace for themselves. They're -5 on the year, but it doesn't really matter when you're winning games. right? As long as you're able to win the games that you need to win or losing in overtime and gaining those points, you're going to continue to stay high in the standings and be able to get yourself a playoff spot, which is all you're really looking for. You got to get to the dance and see what else can happen beyond that. Now let's lay the hardwood down and get the ice on out of here. Let's talk about our Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are currently on an 11-game win streak. 11 games in a row that the Tigers have come out victorious. Before we touch on that schedule and the games that they've won, we're going to hit on those leaders like always. 27.2 points per game and 36.8 minutes on 43.6% shooting. It's Cade Cunningham. 9.9 assists per game with just 3.6 turnovers. It's Cade Cunningham. In 28.9 minutes, scoring 20.6 points per game, shooting 67.4% to lead the field goal percentage is Jalen Duren. The team has 118.9 points per game, 46.9 rebounds, and 26.9 assists. Still dealing with a few injuries to Tobias Harris, Jay Nivey, Karis LeVert, and some others. Defensively, Jalen Duren leading the team with 11.9 rebounds, 7.4 of them defensive, 4.5 on the offensive end, and 28.5 minutes with only 1.3 turnovers. Asir Thompson leads the team with 1.7 steals, and Isaiah Stewart has 0.2 steals but 6.5 rebounds, and he leads the team with 2 blocks per game. Jumping over to the schedule for the Detroit Pistons, their last 11. They haven't lost since Monday, October 27th. It has been almost a month since the Pistons have lost, and that was to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've beaten the Orlando Magic, the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, Utah Jazz, Brooklyn Nets, Philadelphia 76ers, Washington Wizards, Chicago Bulls, Philadelphia 76ers again, the Indiana Pacers, and the Atlanta Hawks. Their most recent game, a victory over the Hawks, 120-112. And right before that, literally the night before, they took on the Indiana Pacers and took them down 127-112. Pistons are absolutely rolling, and they're not just rolling there. They're rolling in the NBA Cup as well. They're 2-0 and holding the 1 seed in Group B. Orlando Magic are also 2-0 so far. They have a plus 27 differential in those NBA Cup games. So in the standings overall, in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons are 13-2 and sit at the 1. Behind them are the 10-5 Raptors, 3 games behind them. 9-5 for the Knicks at 3.5 games back. 10-6 are the Cavs, 3.5 games back as well. Looking at the league overall, the Pistons sit a game and a half back of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 15-1. They have won 7 in a row, so they have the second longest win streak in the league behind our Pistons. Division-wise, Pistons obviously are at the top at 13-2. The Cleveland Cavaliers 3.5 games back, as we talked about earlier. Chicago Bulls 8-6, 4.5 games behind the Pistons. The Bucks 8-8, 5.5 games behind our Pistons, and the Pacers 2-13, 11 games behind the Pistons. What's coming up for the Pistons in the schedule next? Their next game will be later tonight, 8 p.m. on NBA TV against the Milwaukee Bucks on the road. Then they're going to be on the road at the Pacers, 7 p.m. on Monday the 24th. And then Wednesday, November 26th, they will take on the Boston Celtics on ESPN. That game will be at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, November 26th. They'll look to keep their winning streak rolling. By the next time we talk, they also take on the Orlando Magic November 28th in the NBA Cup, 7:30 p.m. on Friday next week. So by the time we talk again, they'll have 4 more games, and we'll be hoping that they'll be on a 15-game win streak, but only time will tell. We'll be back after the break with our picks to end out the show here on 95.3 WBCK.
It's never too early for Lowe's Black Friday deals. Snag some of our biggest savings of the season right now, like 25% off select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees. And get yourself free select DeWalt, Cobalt, or Craftsman tools when you buy a select battery or combo kit before the Black Friday rush. Because everyone loves free stuff, right? Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Since 2011, American Giant has been making everyday clothing with extraordinary effort. Not in far-off factories, but right here in the USA. We obsess over fabrics, fit, and details, because if you're going to wear it every day, it should feel great and last for years. From the cut of a hoodie to the finishing of a seam, nothing is overlooked. Our supply chain is tight-knit and local, which means less crisscrossing the country and more care in every step. The result is durable clothing, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, and denim that become part of your life season after season. This isn't fast fashion, it's clothing made with purpose by people who care as much about how it's made as how it fits. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.
3 WBCK.
Welcome back into Mitten Madness here on 95.3 WBCK. It's almost time for us to get on out of here, but we got to do my favorite part of the show first. That's getting into our picks. Now, last week, I had an interesting week because, well, I split it right down the middle. Went 3-3 as Notre Dame took down Pitt. Bama lost to Oklahoma. Iowa lost to USC, but it was very close to Iowa pulling that thing out. Georgia took down Texas with no problems. The Bills took down the Bucks, and the Lions were not victorious against the Eagles, which I really needed some help there from the Lions. So darn you guys. That's going to get me to 3-3, bumps me up to 48-30 on the year, which then moves us into this week, which we got 6 more contests coming up. We got 5 of them on the gridiron, 2 in the college realm, 3 in the pro realm, and then we're going to get 1 game in on the hardwood for this week. You can play along in the picks anytime you would like using the chat feature in the WBCK app. Head on over there, click that chat feature, listen to these picks, do your deliberation, do your own research, think about it, write your picks down, submit them into the chat, and see if you know ball the way that I do, and see if you're able to do it maybe even better. We might have a prize for somebody who's able to beat me, but, we're yet to see that happen. Jacob couldn't take me down anytime he tried either. So, good luck to you, but we're going to dive into the picks for this weekend. We're going to start on the hardwood, since that's the only game we have on the hardwood this week. Is going to be our Detroit Pistons later tonight taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. This game is a 8 p.m. game. It will be on FanDuel Sports Network, and it also will be on NBA TV. A 71.1% chance for our streaking Pistons to remain hot. A 28.9% chance for the Bucks. The Bucks are 8-8. They're 5-4 at home. Those Pistons 13-2. They're 5-1 on the road. Giannis is averaging 31.2 points per game on 62.9% shooting, but he's only 63.6% from the free throw line. He's also averaging 10.8 rebounds per game and 6.8 assists. He's got 3.5 turnovers as well. He's doing all of this in 31.8 minutes per game. That is absolutely dominant. He is out, though, so this is a big, big development for the Bucks because he will not be returning until November 28th. Taurean Prince also out until January 2nd, and Kevin Porter Jr. out until the 28th. Tobias Harris is a game-time decision for this game. Jaden Ivey's still out until possibly the 24th. Karis LeVert, a game-time decision. Bobby Klintman is out until at least the 24th, and Marcus Sasser out until the 18th. The Pistons, we're a perfect 5-0 in our last 5. The Bucks, they're 1-4 in their last 5, and that's all I need to see. Not that I needed to see anything before that anyway, because I was rolling with Cade Icewood and the Pistons anyway. Cade Cunningham going to go out there and do his thing. Hopefully the Pistons continue to play well, and they pull out another win on the road against the Bucks later today. Now let's shift over to the gridiron, and we will stay in the pro ranks before going down to the college game. The Carolina Panthers will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This will be Monday Night Football played here on WBCK. 6-5 are the Panthers, 3-3 on the road. San Francisco 49ers 7-4, 2-2 at home. This game will be on ESPN. 26.8% chance for Carolina, 73% chance for the 49ers. 49ers are 7-point favorites. Negative 380 on the money line, plus 290 for the Panthers. 49.5 sits on the over-under. Bryce Young versus Mac Jones Rico Dowdle versus Christian McCaffrey, who's also their leading receiver. And then you got Tetero McMillan. That's what you got offensively. Derek Brown has 3 sacks for the Panthers. Bryce Huff has 4 for the 49ers. D. Winters has 77 tackles for the 49ers. But Christian Roseboom, who's doubtful, has 91 tackles for the Panthers. 49ers are 3-2 in their last 5, and so are the Panthers. They lost in the same weeks as well, November 9th and October 26th. The Panthers to the Bills and the Saints, the 49ers to the Rams and Houston. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this one. I'm not sure that the Panthers have enough on defense to stop Christian McCaffrey, who has been absolutely fantastic this year and has so far remained healthy, which is amazing to see. But this will be a high-scoring affair, in my opinion. Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Tetero McMillan, and crew have done a great job of putting up some points this year. Just haven't been able to win. I mean, 249 points against the 207 points for, 261 points for to 252 points against. I mean, you see this game is going to be relatively close. I'm going to take the 49ers, though, to advance their record to 8-4 this year. Another game happening in the pro game, the Bucs and Rams, which we're kind of just talking about these teams. This is Sunday Night Football on NBC, Peacock, and here on WBCK. 8:20 p.m., 6-4, 4-2 on the road are the Buccaneers. 8-2, 4-1 at home are the Rams. 35.2% chance for the Bucs, 64.5% chance for the Rams. The Rams are 7-point favorites, -360 on the money line, plus 280 for the Bucs. 49.5 sits on the over/under. Matthew Stafford versus Baker Mayfield. Kyron Williams against Rashad White. Puka Nacua, Emeka Egbuka. You got another Byron Young with 9 sacks. Yaya Diaby has 4. Tyke Smith has 79 tackles for the Bucs. And Nate Landman, who's questionable, has 91 tackles for the Rams. Lots of questionable injuries on both sides, but the main thing is that the Bucs are getting their receivers back. Not Mike Evans, but they will have Chris Godwin back, Sterling Shepard, and it may be possible that Emeka Egbuka will go this week as well. They're coming off a loss to the Bills and to the Patriots. They also lost to the Lions in their last 5. They have wins over the 49ers and the Saints. Meanwhile, the Rams are perfect in their last 5. And as much as I like the Bucs, the Rams have played amazing football this year. They're 8-2 for a reason. They're 4-1 at home for a reason. They're one of the best teams in the NFC, and they're having success for a reason. I'm going to take the Rams to win yet another NFC game, but don't think that the Bucs are going to make it easy. This will be a high-scoring affair that will be pretty close. So fantasy managers, you might want to think about playing players that you have for the Rams and the Bucs, because this game should be very, very good. Moving on to the Steelers and the Bears. Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-4, 2-2 on the road. The Bears are 7-3, 3-1 at home. This game, 1 p.m. on CBS. 48.6% chance for Pittsburgh, 51% chance for Chicago. You know what that remaining chance is for. 2.5-point favorites are the Bears, 45.5 on the over-under. -140 for the Bears, plus 120 on the money line for the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Warren are both questionable. DK Metcalf is going to be out there doing his thing. Nick Herbig has 6.5 sacks, and Peyton Wilson has 84 tackles. Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, all good to go. DJ Moore is questionable, but it seems like he's going to go as well. Montez Sweat has 5.5 sacks, and Tremaine Edmonds, who is questionable, has 89 tackles on the day. Aaron Rodgers is the big question mark around this game. The Steelers are coming off a 34-12 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. They did lose to the Chargers, Green Bay, and Cincinnati in their last 5, with a win over the Colts in the mix as well. The Bears 4-1 in their last 5, wins over the Giants, the Vikings, the Bengals, and the Saints. A loss to Baltimore Ravens in the mix there. As much as I would love to see Aaron Rodgers own the Bears once again, I'm not sure that he will do it. I'm not sure that he's going to play, and the uncertainty in him playing is what has me leaning toward the Bears. I'm sorry, Jacob. As much as I like the Steelers and I like you, I got to roll with the Bears this week because they have played good football for the most part. They're healthy, and that's the main component here. I'm going to take the Bears as much as it hurts my Packers' heart to say that. I think the Bears will beat the Steelers and move to 8-3, making it even harder for us to take them down. Moving on to the college football game. The Missouri Tigers, 22nd ranked team in the country, 7-3 on the year, 3-3 in the SEC. This game will be at noon on ABC as they take on the 8th ranked Oklahoma Sooners, who are 8-2 and 4-2 in the SEC. 35.9% chance for Mizzou to come out with an upset, 64.1% chance for Oklahoma. Oklahoma 6.5-point favorites, negative 240 on the money line, plus 200 for Mizzou. 42.5 sits on the over/under. John Mateer versus Bo Pebrula. Ahmad Hardy versus Torrey Blaylock. Isaiah Sategna III versus Kevin Coleman Jr. Then you got Damon Wilson II having 7 sacks, and Josiah Trotter has 61 tackles for the Tigers. Meanwhile, R. Mason Thomas has 6.5 sacks, and Kip Lewis has 60 tackles for the Sooners. Sooners 3-2 in their last 5 with losses to Ole Miss and Texas. Missouri 2-3 in their last 5 with losses to Texas A&M, Vandy, and Bama. Wins over Mississippi State and Auburn. Meanwhile, Oklahoma has wins over Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina. I mean, this one's spelled out in front of us for us. Oklahoma, with John Mateer being that two-headed monster that he is, has come out and played well. Missouri will play well. They will make it a game down in Norman, Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium. But a home game for Oklahoma at this time of the year with their playoff placement in their hands, they're going to go out and handle business. I got Oklahoma winning this game as well, which gets us to our last game, and the most important game to Michigan fans of the weekend outside of their own is USC, the 15th ranked team in the country, taking on the Oregon Ducks, the 7th ranked team in the country. USC 8-2, 6-1 in the Big Ten. Oregon Ducks 9-1, 6-1 in the Big Ten. 3:30 p.m. on CBS. 28.1% chance for USC, 71.9% chance for Oregon. This game will be at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. 10.5-point favorites are the Oregon Ducks, 59.5 on the over-under, negative 400 on the money line, plus 300 for USC. It is Dante Moore versus Jaden Maeva, King Miller versus Noah Whittington, DeCorian Moore versus Mekhi Ledman. You got Braylon Shelby with 3.5 sacks. Eric Gentry has 64 tackles for the Trojans. Tiatum Tuioti has 5.5 sacks for Oregon, and Bryce Bodeker has 77 tackles. Oregon 4-1 in their last 5, just a 10-point loss to Indiana. Wins over Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. USC, they're 4-1 as well. Wins over Michigan, Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa. Loss to Notre Dame. I'm going to take Oregon because I think Oregon is just going to win because I believe they are better. Their record shows it. Some of their wins show it. Their loss, in my opinion, shows it as well. So going into the weekend, I have Oklahoma, Oregon, Bears, Rams, 49ers, and the Pistons. Coming up this weekend, we got Michigan football going down tomorrow. That game's at 4 p.m. 3 p.m. is going to be the pregame. And then we have Sunday night football coming up this weekend as well on BCK. There's going to be Bucks and Rams. And then we have Monday night football, which is going to be Panthers, 49ers. And then we have the Thursday night onslaught, or Thursday all-day onslaught of Packers at Lions, Chiefs at Cowboys, Bengals at Ravens on Thursday, and then Bears and Eagles on Friday for Black Friday. Enjoy the holidays because we won't see you until after, and enjoy this weekend. We'll have more Mitten Madness for you next week on 95.3 WBCK.
Join Da'Jzon Hughes every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Mitten Madness on 95.3 WBCK. Miss the show or want to run it back? Stream Mitten Madness on demand on the WBCK app. Sponsored by AirwayCashForJunkCars.com.
November is all about gathering, Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, and football weekends. Total Wine & More has everything you need for your table and your toasts, with thousands of wines, spirits, and beers at the lowest prices. From bold reds to sparklers and smooth bourbons to tequilas made for celebrating, Total Wine has it all. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love only at Total Wine & More.
Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. See TotalWine.com for details. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. B21.
It's never too early for Lowe's Black Friday deals. Snag some of our biggest savings of the season right now, like 25% off select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees. And get yourself free select DeWalt, Cobalt, or Craftsman tools when you buy a select battery or combo kit before the Black Friday rush. Because everyone loves free stuff, right? Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.